Okay, traders, thank you for coming out and welcome. Glad to have you here in the official AMA for the pin bar algo. Of course, we can't guarantee results. Products and services are for educational purposes. I did not see your email, David. I'm deep, deep in the inbox today. Haven't had a chance to even really look at it, except for real brief stuff. But I'll see if I can find you. Oh, I went to support. Yeah, no, sorry, not yet. But you just want to know how to avoid trading in overbought, oversold. We can go over that. That's easy. So feel free to ask away. We are recording the event. If you have any questions, feel free to ask away. Of course, we'll send you the recording. You can watch it as much as you need to. If you haven't yet read the manual, I highly recommend you do that. It is always a wealth of knowledge and a great resource that will help you quite a bit. So always refer to the manual, read through it, and keep it on hand for reference. So, but yeah, a couple of housekeeping items. So, we're not going to really look at too much here, but I do want to go through the setups and go through some of the images and so on. Oh, yeah, you can't do that, David. Yeah, unfortunately, not that I know of anyway. And Jeff can chime in if he knows some kind of different scenario, but yeah, no, you can't do that. No, it's not set up that way. The engine doesn't have that capability. Unless
One thing you can do is you can use the two histogram crossover as a filter and make the histo 1 a longer look back than the histo 2. So what that does is if you're in overbought territory, which often happens when one histo is above the other, then you can take it'll take an opposite direction trade. It's like your reverse EMA cross filter that you used.
Mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
that's actually the NASDAQ template that was shared uses that technique. You can look at the chart and see how it works.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
All right. Good deal. So, what is a pin bar? A pin bar is a bar that has a very big wick and closes near its high or low. There's a pin bar. There's a pin bar. Anything that closes near the high or the low and has a large wick. Technically, that's a pin bar, right? Okay. So that's what it is. And so that's what the system is trading. You can trade bar close. You can trade inch bar. So if you want it to enter right at the close, or if you want it to break out of that bar, you can do so either way. You have algo-based stops, meaning that the stop is going to go on the other side of the wick of the pin bar. You have a buffer. You tell it how much to add to the trade or subtract for that matter. You can use positive or negative numbers. So here you can see that there's a positive number, therefore the stop is below the wick. A negative number is going to put the stop above the wick. You can do percent offset or tick-based offset for the stop. Hey, traders, tell that guy to stop. Okay. Let's see. So let's go in. There's a couple other images I wanted to share actually, and I'll just move this over for now. Let's see, where did I? Here we go. So Jeff does these really great images for the manuals, and so I wanted to go through these. We've already seen that. So here's the setup again. You've got a bullish pin bar entering at the close, and even though it's a bearish bar, it's a bullish pin bar because it closed near its high. Even though this is technically a bullish bar because it closed above the open, it closed near the low, therefore it is a bearish setup. Bar close, intra-bar we looked at. Entry offset. So if you're trading intra-bar, you get an entry offset. You could tell it how far below it needs to go before you're willing to consider that a break, right? A lot of times you'll see the fake out breakout, so that's what that is there to avoid. And I already looked at that. Can trade up to three different entries per positions per entry, I should say. Of course, you got trade time windows, start and stop, but then you also have times that you can block, which is really cool. Water management, money management based on high water marks. And of course, all the familiar filters, moving average crossover, which you can reverse those numbers. And what would happen in that case, which is actually how gold and crude are set up, to where when it's crossed, instead of it trading longs, you can set it to trade shorts. A stepping moving average, market structure. And then you can also use double EMAs on the momentum. You can flip those as well if you want to trade reversals. And there you go. So that's kind of a quick overview. Let's see. All right, so these are the settings that we had for crude. Kind of go over them. Yeah, we'll just go over this one since it's a winner. Let me grab my draw tool here. So here's the entry. Here's the pin bar, right? So it came down. The EMAs are flipped, therefore it is going long. So even though it crossed here to the downside, I have them flipped. So that means instead of trading short, it's going to trade longs. There's the long signal. There's the long entry. Stop goes below this wick and just happened to go there. And then this one happens to trail all the way up until it gets hit. Didn't actually hit target. Actually exited the position on a trail stop on both sides of that position. There's two entries. There's another one, bullish pin bar. There's the entry at the close. Stop goes below the low. Target, and then trail stop. All right, so that's kind of the idea there. Let's go through the settings and talk about what the settings do. And then, of course, we will go into, some optimization, some examples, and so on. So let's pull up the settings. Okay, so here it is. So you have an EMA period that tells the system that in order to trade shorts, it would need to be below said EMA. So let's say if this was one that we were using, then the market would only trade shorts below that EMA. Okay, so that is one option that is in there. I have this turned off. If you have this turned off, then this means nothing. If you have it turned on, then it's going to follow that. Okay. Entry type, you got bar close and intra-bar, which we looked at. Let me see if I can go over a trade example. Let's move this over. There we go. We pull these up again. Okay, so bar close means as soon as this bar closes, it's entering. Breakout means as soon as it breaks out, so if you had like a 4 tick, let's say, then it's going to trade, once it gets 4 ticks above the high of that bar, then it's going to trade. Okay, so that's what that does. Require inside pin range. I'm going to phone a friend in the lifeline. Jeff.
Sorry, I was answering a question. What was it?
Require inside pin range. What does that one do again? I didn't.
Okay, so that's only if you have intrabar entries. And actually, no, that's not true. So if the bar, okay, going back, so that is true. So only intrabar entries. And what that means is say you have max bar delay of 3 bars. So that's saying you're allowing 3 bars between the pin bar and the bar that actually breaks the high or the low of the pin bar for the trade. What if those interim bars extend beyond the wick of the pin bar. Do you want to allow that as a trade or not? Do you get it? See what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
So, if you turn that on, then those interim bars before the break have to all be inside the pin bar in terms of
Gotcha.
the range of the pin bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. That works. Of course, you can try that out, see what you like. I have it off. I'm using range bars though, so it's really not gonna. If I turn that on, it's probably not gonna give me any trades. So, but then again, I'm on bar close, so it doesn't really matter too much either. Pin bar range type. So you can do ticks or you can do ATR. For your range type, what it's saying is what's your minimum pin bar size? Obviously, on a range chart, it's completely meaningless. But on a variable range chart, let's say you have a tiny little pin bar, and then you've got, it's way outside of the normal size of the bars. Well, that could be completely meaningless to you. So you can set a minimum and a maximum allowable on the pin bar size. Again, you can do ticks or you can do ATR. So if you change it to ATR, then it's going to ask you what period ATR. And then this is going to be an ATR multiple. Okay, so multiple minimum and max. Of course, you can have a smaller, number for. It doesn't have to be 1. It could be 0.5, 0.3, whatever. We'll just leave that as ticks because I don't really care about the size on a range bar. Pin bar body range threshold. This is probably the most important factor that you're going to look at in this system. And that is what percent of the range of the candle is the body allowed to be. So it cannot be more than this number. Let me change this to yellow. Can't be more than that number. So if the number is 30%, then that means the body of the candle has to be less than 30% of the total range. Right? So this, with assuming it's a 10 tick range bar, which it's not, but let's make math easy. That means the pin bar range cannot be more than 3 ticks. Okay. So it has to be less than 30% body and then more than 70% wick in that case. You could set it to whatever you want and see what works for you. I kind of like it. The 30 was kind of what was really working well for me. Require bar direction. What this is saying is that in order for this to be a bullish trade, you would need to close above the high or above the open rather. So it would need to be a bullish bar as well. You can use that if you like. If you turn this on, require direction override and minimum pin body high-low for direction override. So this one is not as simple to explain. It took me a little bit to grasp this, so I'm going to do my best. Yeah, Jeff's chuckling over here because he's like, good luck explaining that one, Jim. So what this means, let's say you have the override turned on, and that means you're going to require bar direction. But what if this bar is like, the open and the close is exactly the same? Do you want to allow that as an exception to that rule? So this is the rule. This is the exception to the rule. The exception is saying, I will only trade bullish bars unless that's your unless box, unless it's less than 10%. Yeah.
That's
unless
right.
it's unless it's less than, I had to think about that for a second. Unless it's less than 10%. So the scenario is, let's say you got this giant bar, right? And you're saying, I want a bullish close. Well, what if the close is like that? And you've got this tiny little body that's 5% of the bar. And it happens to be a bearish bar. And you have this thing turned on to say, but I'm only going to trade bullish bars. Well, is this really a bearish bar if it's only 5% body is the idea there, right?
I think we need to distinguish between bearish bar and bearish pin bar, because
Yeah.
A bearish bar just means it closes down. It's a red bar. A
Hmm.
bearish pin bar, it means that the body's down at the bottom of the bar. So it's
Yeah,
got to separate those.
right. So this would be a, a bear. This would be a bull. So this is a bullish bar that also happens to be a bullish pin bar because it closed up and it closed near the high. So the pin bar rule is bullish if closed near high. Okay. Bearish would be closed near the low. But normally we would just say, well, is it a green bar or a red bar? Green bars are bullish and red bars are bearish, right? That's normally what we would do. So this is where all of this comes from, is like, do you want to require a bull or a bear, for lack of a better way of explaining it? And will you override that if the bar is really small? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's worth checking out. It's really not going to be a factor on like a range chart or something like this, but on a volume chart or a minute chart or daily chart, like it's going to make a difference for sure. So that's what those do. Um, I would suggest read the manual on that too. Maybe go through it a couple times. So, all right, entry, long, short, obviously. What if you want to trade two trades? Great. You can tell it either contracts or you can tell it fixed cost. Fixed cost is going to fix the cost of each trade. Let's say we put both of these positions at 250. That means it will risk 250. It'll auto size your contracts for each position. So we'll just leave this as 1 and 1 because this is the full size crude. Order type, market or limit. You can use either one. And then this is kind of going through the brain and that kind of thing. So we'll skip over that. Of course, training is in the members area. Enable algo stop loss. So this is where you can tell the algo, I want to put my stop relative to the wick. Relative meaning if it's a positive number, it's going beyond that wick. If it's a negative number, it's going above that wick. You can choose ticks, ATR, so on. Let's do that. Okay, so let's look at it. Ticks or percent is what I meant. So if you have it as ticks, then it's just, 10 ticks below the wick. It rhymes. And if you have it as percent, it's going to take the range and put that, if you have it as a positive number, again below. So if you want it to be half a bar, then that would be 50%. If you want it to be a whole bar, you would put 100%. Obviously, that's going to make more sense on a variable range bar. This is on range, fixed range bars. So, percent and ticks, like you could pretty easily figure that out. For the sake of optimizing, I would suggest using percent. That way, it'll figure it out for you. I mean, you could use ticks, I guess, too, but whatever. Anyway, target type, risk reward, ticks or ATR. And of course, you can do R multiples, which is great. Time blockers, start stop times. You can block out specific days. You can block out dates, even in the future. If you know CPI and PPI are coming up, which they are, you can say, I don't want to trade those days. Put that date in there. It will not trade those days in case you happen to forget to check the news in the morning. So, money management's all in here. And so there's that. If you notice on the EMAs, I do want to cover this. So we've got a 9 and a 20 on the EMAs. You can make these whatever you want. But the 9 is above the 20. Normally, that means you would trade longs. If you flip these numbers to where this one is bigger than that number, then it will trade shorts instead of longs. So if the 9 is above the 20, it will actually trade short because the 9 and 20 are flipped. It's a trick, some trickery, strategery. Good stuff. On the VM, you can require EMA crossovers. And you can flip these numbers. And what that's going to do is same concept. if the 9 was below the, say, the 20, and it's down like that, it's going to trade longs instead of short. Cool. Jeff, you were talking about these histo numbers. Is that what you were talking about? Doing 26 and 12 flipped?
Oh, the two down at the bottom there, the fast and slow.
Oh, the EMAs. Okay. So you
Yeah,
weren't
the
flipping
EMAs.
these.
No, those don't. That just affects the Bollinger, which is just display.
Oh, gotcha.
No, it's the histo EMA crossover. If you make the fast, I mean, we should have called it histo 1 and histo 2 instead of histo fast and histo slow. But
Right.
anyway,
That's
if
okay.
if the fast is a bigger look back, meaning it's slower than the slow, then you're taking the opposite. It's just like the way you just explained it for the EMAs.
Yeah.
And so typically you get in oversold conditions, you get uh, the faster one slow, below the slower one, and then normally you would take longs in that situation, but this way you would be taking, sorry, normally be taking shorts in that situation, but this way you're taking longs, and that's
Yeah.
a way to kind of take a reversal trade at overbought or oversold. That's
Yeah.
just one way to do it.
Nice. Okay. Cool deal. Yeah. So you can flip the EMAs. You cannot flip the histo numbers. So that's fine. So here's a pin bar. What was the reaction? Went short. Here's a pin bar. What was the reaction? Went long. Here's another pin bar. Long. Here's another pin bar. Went up. Another pin bar. Went up. Another pin bar. Went up. Another pin bar. Faked out. Another pin bar. Went up. You would have been in this, not the other one, which was down. So just looking at the chart, you can see it. You can see it. This one would have, depended on your range, you might have got psyched out. This one definitely would have faked you out. But for the most part, a lot of these are giving response. And that's why this was coded. It's a really great system. So anyway, so that kind of gives you ideas on the settings. Everybody all good on the settings? That all makes sense so far? Everybody with me so far? Any questions? VM lean is velocity and momentum indicator. And think of it like a souped up MACD. It's more dynamic, more responsive. Yeah, just like that. That was a range chart that we were looking at. Yeah. We're going to look at another range chart just because I can't help myself. Maybe I can help myself, and that's why we're looking at it. I don't know. Please explain require EMA at the top under strategy parameters. Require EMA at the top. Oh, yeah. So require EMA. Let me go to the right. I'll go there. Require EMA means that if we have this set to a 5, like it is here, then that means anytime we are below the 5, let's say that's our 5, we're below it, is going to take a short. Let's say the 5 was here, take a short. Yeah, that's what it is. So what's the advantage of flipping the EMAs? You trade reversals instead of trends. Trade reversals instead of trends. And it's only going to trade reversals or deep pullbacks and not trends. Yep. All right. So we're going to do a little experiment here, and I'm going to show you how I came up with these tests. And we're also going to test a new market. Let me move this over so I can see a little better. There we go. All right. So I'm going to put some initial parameters in here. And then rather than optimize all these numbers, we're going to optimize the chart first. So let me show you how we do that. So bar close is fine. Require inside, require EMA, no and no. Pin bar range, ticks, minimum and max don't care because it's a range chart. And minimum pin bar threshold, I'm going to leave at 30. Not going to require direction. I'm going to go static. One contract because I'm not optimizing for money yet. Enable market, limit pre-order gaps, don't care. Allow entries, sure, why not? Ticks on the stop. We're going to enable algo stop and minimum and maximum, don't care. Stop loss offset, I am 100% going to optimize this, okay? Risk reward, and then let's really open this up like 3 o'clock to 2:30, that's fine. Equity open, we will disable. Perfect. I've got the EMAs flipped as a reversal. And I'm not requiring anything on the VM system. Okay, we're going to go to futures RTY and full range. And then let's optimize through the third. That'll work. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is just save this as a starting point. We'll just call this RTY starting point. Okay. Then I know this is weird, but I'm going to load those settings and then go to optimizer. For some crazy reason, if you don't do that, it doesn't carry the numbers over to optimization. Don't ask me why. Okay, so not going to optimize any of that. No. I want to optimize stop loss offset and times don't care yet. That's fine. And then I'm going to come all the way down and I'm going to hit this little, I'm going to go to net profit first and then optimize data series. Okay. And I'm going to optimize those two things against around the clock. Now, why would this work? Because it's a range bar. If there's no range, there's no bars. So what's the disadvantage of having it at 3 in the morning? I don't know. Let's see what the numbers come back at and then look at the charts and then we'll filter and then re-optimize again. So on RTY, I know that I don't want anything less than like a, let's call it a 12 range. That's a little extreme, to be honest. And I'm going to go to 30. And then I'm going to go by twos. And then on the stop offset, I'm going to do, where did it go? Moving averages. Stops, here we go. The stop offset, I'm going to use ticks because it's going to be range bar anyway. You know what? No, let's do percent. This way, the percent will be relevant to the range of the bar. And we'll go anywhere from a 10% offset to, I don't know, why don't we just say 100? We'll go by increments of 10. So we're not going too crazy here. And then let's run it. Let's see what we came up with. 100 iterations. I don't know how long that's going to take. Hopefully not too long.
It shouldn't take long.
So cue the Jeopardy music and let's see what we come up with.
Do you ever test with negative values for the stop offset?
Say what's that?
Do you ever test with negative values?
Oh, the negative?
Stop
I haven't. I think I would if there were really big bars. If there's small bars, I probably wouldn't mess with it.
Yeah, maybe a 30 tick or something. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, it'd have to be a bigger bar, exactly.
Okay.
So we'll let it run the first test here and then see what our time looks like. Might be about 5 minutes or so. Yeah, it looks like it's creeping down to about 5 minutes. Anybody have any questions that we can cover while we're waiting on this? Anybody want to go over anything? It looks like it's speeding up, actually. That's a good sign. So we can go look at some of the other charts too, just to get a feel for, like, are there time frames that we want to look at? Are there markets we want to look at? What's working? What isn't working? Personally, I'm always going to start with, what's the chart telling me, and then go from there. I know not everybody does it that way. There's some that like to look more at the numbers, and that's fine too. It just has to be what works for you. Yeah, and that's a good way to figure out like what chart you want to use, right? Another thing you can do too is, like, for example, here, It's not exactly a pin bar. This is kind of more of a doji, but you see how it came into these averages and it's pulling deep, and you've got this bar, and you could, just set the algo to go long or short at areas of interest too. And that's something that we looked at in the training event that we did, earlier in last month. All right, so what did we come up with? So we've got 3,500 with 1.6 in profit. So good start. The first thing I want to do before I get excited, before I start looking at anything, I want to go into the time and just see what are the times giving me. Are they giving me trades or not? If I've got less than like 3 trades on a time, slot, I'm really not too interested in that. We've got 70 trades to work with over the course of a month, so that's a pretty decent number. Let's go to entry time and then half hour. Okay, so there's nothing happening before 6 a.m. And even after 6 a.m., we can do this by number of trades. 9:30 and 8:30 are the most active. Shocker, I know. 10, 10:30, 2, for whatever reason, there was a handful of trades there, noon. But, you've got this, and you look at this, and on the chart, it looks like, wow, this is fantastic. We've got a lot of profit there. But it's 5 trades. And with a 62% win rate, what's the possibility you're going to get 5 trades in a row? Pretty decent. It doesn't really mean that much. What I'm looking at is, where's the bulk of the trades? Well, the bulk of the trades are here, here, and here. So that makes sense. 8:30 to 10. Really, 8:30 to 11 would probably be fine. Looking at these, you've got 1 trade each. So does that really do that much for you? No, it's not going to do any good. So I'm going to look at this and go 8:30 to 11 is my thing. Let's look at, can't even click on 11. Let's go back to period. So was that blocked? Equity open 920, 940. It is not blocked. No idea. There just wasn't any trades at 11, interestingly enough. And 11:30, there was 4 trades. We hit 1 out of 4. So again, it's not like there's anything that's really telling you anything glaring, but I would say in this case, I would just end it at 11:30, and we'll do that. So we'll go 11:30, 11:30. Start time. Let's go 8:30. Actually, let's go like 8:35 in case there's some crazy wild news coming in at 8:30. There we go. Oh yeah, markets weren't. The markets haven't been friendly since last week, so we can just call it like it is. All right, so we've got our times in there. Now, what I'm going to do, rather than flipping through all these and looking at times, I know based on this market, like 8:30 to 11 is going to be the sweet spot. Like we can go in and look at some of these different ones. It's going to tell us the same thing for the most part. Yeah, nothing too crazy here. Okay, we picked up 1 trade each in there. So, so anyway, so now what I'm going to do, now that I've got my time kind of locked in, I'm just going to go ahead and run that optimization again. I'm not going to change any of the parameters. We'll just run the optimization again. And while we're doing that, we can go look at some different markets and see, is there another chart we should be looking at? Although I don't think, can I do volume charts in here? Of course not. Pay me. Whatever. Get out of here. So we'll just get out of that. Let me go into Tick Blaze and we'll look at some more charts. Anybody have anything that they're curious about looking at? I think there was some comments about maybe looking at YM. Anybody here want to, look at that or any other markets you're dying to see? Let me know. Yeah, YM. Yeah, I got a lot of folks that like to trade the YM, so we'll look at that one. Yeah, we got a little bit of time yet before that comes in. Let me expand this out, and we'll just kind of keep an eye on our little status bar down there while we do this. Okay, so let's look at YM, and we'll go single contract, and we'll just move this out of the way here. We'll get this out of the way, and then we'll get that out of the way, and got a little more screen real estate. Okay, so this is 1 minute. Obviously, 1 minute is going to be extremely noisy, especially on YM, which it's not on YM. Let's go there. YM. Shazam. There we go. Okay, 1 minute. It's going to be noisy, but we can just glance at the chart. Where are we seeing pin bars? There's a beautiful pin bar there. Okay, we're looking at it. Yeah, pin bar here. Didn't give a ton of reaction, but a little bit. Just kind of go through the candles. There's one nice reaction. There's one nice reaction. Maybe we do look at the 1 minute. I don't know. What do I know? There's a pretty nice pin bar. There's a nice pin bar. There's a fake out. Yeah, what the heck? Yeah, let's look at it on a 1 minute. Who knows? Maybe we'll get something really great. Okay. Back connection. So we can see we lost some profit because we pulled the time back, but we gained quite a bit in profit factor at 2.08, which is pretty solid. And yeah, we got a 67% win rate, drawdown 200 versus 2,600 in profit. That's less than 10% ratio, which is very solid. So looks pretty good. We're getting about 1.5 trades a day, so not a ton of trades. But what was the range on this one? So this one came in at 30. Wow, how about that? I don't think I'll be able to see it here. Let's go down to this. 30 as well. Maybe that is. Yeah, all these are 30 actually. And then 28, 29. Okay, so 30. So 30 was the best number. So what do you think I'm going to do now? I'm going to go to 50. Do I get more money if I bump it up even more? Because it's at the extreme of what I was testing. I don't know what the ranges should be. I'm just shooting in the dark to start with. So we'll look at it that way. And then let's go find our stop offset. I think 10 to 100 is probably fine. I wouldn't, we can go to 150, but I just don't think it's necessary. I think we'll leave it like that and let's test it against, let's test it that way. So while we're doing that, we'll go back to the chart. We'll kind of multitask here in a different platform, which just happens to be launching to the world, hopefully next month. Hopefully. So 1 minute, not getting much during the European session, right? It really doesn't start to smooth out till about 7:30 here. And then you get the open, which is just chaos till probably about 10 o'clock. So these are just mental notes that we make as we go. Let's go back to the previous day. That might have been the holiday or something. Pretty choppy, nothing happening, right? Let's go back another day. So this would have been, European session, not terrible, but just pretty thin, right? You've got a lot of gaps and a lot of noise, and it really doesn't start to settle in on this day until 7:30, and then it kind of comes in, and then you got the chaos off the open, and then it settles down again around 10. That is to be expected, but really nice pin bar there. Another one here. Then it gets kind of into chop mode. Nice pin bar there. Yeah, maybe the 1 minute could be good. We can test for that, can do that. The good thing is, these are pretty easy to optimize. There's not a ton of moving parts, so it's not that intensive to optimize. So we might be able to do a couple of them, time permitting. $20. So I'll bring this up. So why do we test stop, offset, and range together? Why do we test those two against each other? Obviously, one impacts the other, and so it's important to look at it both ways. The stop size is going to impact based on the bar size, and so anyway, so that's why we're testing those together. Came back exactly the same, nothing better. So now we have our answer. We know that 30 was the best for the range. So can we, get it even more dialed in? Yes, we certainly can. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go 25 to 35, but we're going to go by ones instead of by twos. My assumption is I'm going to get the same number, but I don't know that. So 30, let's see where some of these other numbers are coming in on the stop offset. You got 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, 80. Yeah, clearly the smaller numbers are, maybe going to be better. So let's do this. Let's sample this down a little bit. We'll go 10 to 50. Since we're not really getting too much meaningful beyond that, save ourselves some time here. I'll chop the number of iterations in half. All right, so let's start building out some kind of assumptions. This is like the mad scientist in the lab going, here's my hypothesis, right? So we have YM, 1 minute looks pretty good. So maybe we'll test 1 to 5 and just see what these numbers come in at. We can optimize by twos, and that'll give us a 1, 3, and 5 on the minute charts. And we'll start with that and then kind of branch out from there, and we'll test that against stop offset. And we'll look at building that out from there. Most of what you're doing on this is going to be those two. That's why we're starting with those. And then beyond that, you can look at the range threshold and test that separately, or see if there's anything that might be better. I don't like getting into like really fine-tuned numbers on the offset or on the ranges, because it's like, is 26% really that much better or different than 25%? No. All right, same exact number. Nothing changed. So there we go. So we have 30 was the best on the offset, 30%. And then we have our range bar is definitely going to be 30. So here's what I'm going to do now. Because percent is somewhat limiting, because I'm only going by tens, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go by ticks. Why ticks? Because it's going to be exact numbers versus percent on a range bar. Like, we really don't need to do that. So let's do this. So now I'm going to go by ticks, and we're going to do the offset. It's a 30 tick range bar. So let's offset anywhere 10 ticks to 30 ticks. And let's just go by let's go by threes. So that way, well, here, let's go by twos. It's not going to be that many because it's just that one setting. And now let's see what the tick offset really needs to be on the 30 range. So what we're doing is we've got the giant rock, and we're kind of starting to chisel away at it. And we start with a bigger chisel till we get our shape, then we chisel away more. And I broke it. No, it's about the same. It's not a whole lot of difference compared to the last test. Yes, those numbers are different because we didn't get exactly the number, I guess. Which, oh, well, 30 ticks would have been, let's go by ones. Fine. Let's go by ones and see. Normally, I don't like it I don't like to get too fine-tuned on this stuff. I don't like to get caught in the nuances of every little thing, but we'll see what we come up with and start strong. Okay. So yeah. So I guess that's the number. So 13 tick offset. What was this one? 10, 11, 12. Win percent's about the same. The only difference is the size of the stop and the size of the target. So it's really not making that much of a difference. A little bit more profit factor on this one. Um, Interesting. Yeah, whatever. 13, 10. Let's just keep it at 10. Keep it at 10. That's fine. Simple and easy numbers. Okay, so we've got those locked in. So now I want to go up and let's look at the pin bar percent and see if we can optimize that some. Before I do that, let's go back to the chart on the time. 8:30 was about even. Interesting that most of the trades happen 9:30 to 10 after the open. Oh, this was disabled. Let's enable that as well and see what that does. Okay, so percent pin bar range. Obviously, 10% is going to be very restrictive. That means it's going to be a 3-tick bar. So let's go 15%. And we'll go all the way up to like 40, you know? And let's go by fives. We're not going to be too extreme. Yeah, it is kind of a fewer number of trades for sure. So clearly, enabling that hurt us. So I'm going to turn that back off and let's run it again. Yeah, it's a little better. Yeah, interesting. So the percent range came in at 40. So anytime you're at the extreme, you probably want to look at bumping it out a little bit and see if it makes any difference. A little bit of a better profit factor, fewer trades. And this one had more trades, less profit. So this was the most profitable though. And so we can probably stick with these numbers, which came in at 45. What the heck? Let's go by. I don't want to get real into the weeds on this stuff, you know, because then you can fine tune everything and then you get something that just doesn't work at all. It only works for that time frame. It's like over optimized, you know. So whatever, we'll leave this at 45. That'll give us a little bit more trades than we had at the 40 number, which was this. Okay. So that's pretty good. So let's go back here. How much are we risking per trade? It's about 200 per trade based on these numbers. So, now we can go in and look at, well, let's say we want to be maybe around 500 per trade. Well, you can do 400 or you can do 600 because remember, this is the full size contract. So why don't we just say 2 contracts? First thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to save this over what we've already had. And then I'm going to go to back test. And then I'm going to save it again because it's weird. And that's just what I'm going to do. And now I'm going to run the test just to make sure all the numbers come in the same. Another thing you can do too is you can show the log, which is going to show all of the back tests that you've done so far. And then once I know I've got the same numbers, then I'll bump the contracts up, save it again. Yeah, 3760, cool. So we'll save it again, but this time we're going to go 2 contracts. And everything should double in theory. Yep, cool. Man, that wind is really blowing out there. Hopefully I don't lose you guys. All right, so let's save this again. And there we go. So decent, 2,500 to make 7,500, 3 to 1. It's not terrible. 1.66, not terrible. The bookmark ends are, not great. But let's do this because we don't have a huge sample of trades. So let's go back. And we'll just go back to April. And let's see what it looks like. We might need to optimize a little bit more. That's okay. The approach with this process is just be patient. Don't expect anything. Come in with some anticipations, maneuver, change things up until you get something that you're really happy with. Sometimes it takes time. If you start getting frustrated or you feel like you're not getting anywhere for the day, call it a day. Come back the next day and start optimizing some more. A lot of times on just a fresh outlook, you'll get some better setups. So, all right. So here's what I like to do from a time frame standpoint. I like to go by win rate, not by profit, by win rate, because my goal is to maximize my profit and minimize my risk, right? How do I do that? Win rate. But this one was profitable. Yeah, but 53%. What's our benchmark? We're trading 1-to-1. We want to be 60% and better. So why would we trade this? Doesn't make sense. It doesn't hit our win rate. What about 11 to 11:30? No, doesn't hit our win rate. What about 10 o'clock? I don't know. 10 o'clock was like out and ate some mushrooms or something and got a little weird. And I don't know what happened. We have to go look and see. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. I'm going to chop it down a little bit. So 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock. Next thing I'm going to do is look at the open. Should we, over the long run, over more trades, should we be looking to filter the open? We've got 136 trades now, so we've got more to work with. So let's run it this way first, and then we'll enable it and see. A lot of you who have sat in on these AMAs before, you can kind of see like it's kind of the same process for the most part. But what happens is you get to like the fork in the road, and sometimes it sends us to the left, sometimes to the right. And you just kind of venture down the road that you need to really look at, So the process is the same in theory, but it differs from one algo to the next. So we're really averaging up 4, down 4 as an extreme. Anything above that is there's a couple anomalies there where we're down 5, 6, up 8. Interesting. Oh, Actually, this is double the size. They're not 200, they're 400. So yeah, so up 4, down 3 as a max. That's not bad. Couple trades per day. That's great. So win rate, not stellar. Drawdown, a little bit big compared to the profit, right? So this we would want to go in and optimize, but we got a bigger sample size to work with now. So we can go in and optimize a little bit more. Let's enable this though. See what this does for us. Yeah, that like sucked all of the profit out. So what does that tell us? Maybe we ought to be trading the open and that's it. Wow. Let's go to half-hour day. Okay. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Maybe run this again. We'll go. I don't want to get into optimizing for the time because it's just going to take a lot of time. And I don't want to spend all that time doing that. But here's what I would do at this point is I would optimize the starting time. And I wouldn't optimize the end time. I would just look at like what's really working. Yeah. I don't know. Hell, let's take a look at it. Let's see. So we're going to save this first off. Always save. Then you have to load, even though you just saved it. Now we're going to go to optimization and let's go to time. I don't know. I mean, I feel like normally I would not do this, but I feel like in this case, it could make sense. Let's go 9 to 10 o'clock. And let's go by. See, here's the problem is like let's go to 9:50 because otherwise I'm just going to have to go 10 and forward because there's not 100 minutes, in each hour. So let's go by 10 minutes. Well, what the heck? Let's go by fives. Shouldn't take too long. So let's see what is the most profitable. I think I have it on profit ratio, but that's okay. We only have 11. Yeah, I'll have to fix that. Yeah. Helpful to have us do the hard parts. Yes, I agree. Yeah. Okay. So this is saying start time 9:05. What is this one? Start time 9 o'clock. Yeah, so not much of a difference from the start time. Let's do the end time. We're gonna do this separately, so we're not here all day. So I'm just gonna leave this at 9 o'clock. I mean, that seems to be a good number. Let's go to the end time. And let's go 10 o'clock to 10:50. Like tens. We did it by tens before, right? Yeah, I think so. Let's go max net fit. Okay. Yeah, so what time did this one end at? Well, here, I'll just go here. 10:10. What's the next one? End time 10 o'clock, 10:20, 10:50, 40. So between 10 and 10:20 was kind of the sweet spot. Let's go by fives just to see if there's anything that really pops out. Again, I don't like to get super into the weeds on this stuff, but we'll just see if it comes across much different. If not, then I'll just leave it as probably 10 o'clock or 10:10, maybe 10:15. We'll see what comes in. Yeah, so that was about the same. So this one is 10:10, 10 o'clock. So what's the difference between the two? Not much. In fact, this actually has a higher profit. So we're going to go 10 o'clock. There you go. And now we're down to an hour. So at this point, think of it this way. If you have a beautiful, lush tree, how many of you have ever owned a bonsai tree before? Anybody here owned a bonsai tree? Anybody here like actually able to keep them looking good? I don't know if that's anybody's into that kind of thing, but no, why would I do that? But look at it this way. If you have a tree and you go out and you prune the tree because you don't like this leaf over here and you don't like this leaf over there, and then you go and you keep trimming and trimming and trimming, what do you have left? Nothing. Doesn't even look like a tree anymore. Like you've chopped it to bits. And at this point, it needs to become firewood because you've destroyed your tree, right? So that's the point. Like, don't chop away everything. Just get it so where it's decent and you can get something out of it and you're happy with it. And it's, all right. So don't make it look like Frankenstein is the point. It's pretty good. Let's go to the analysis on the daily. Yeah, one brutal day and the rest were pretty decent. Let's go to cumulative. Interesting. Yeah, it wasn't really any good until June 1st to here. And that's okay, because we want it to be obviously up, not like up, 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 down, and then like a little bit, let's look at it from June. June 3rd. Oh, yeah. Just go to back test. Pin bar threshold. We might be able to even fine tune this a little bit now that we've kind of adjusted some things. Let's run it this way. Yeah, so it looks good for that month. It's about 53 trades. It's not a small amount of trades. It's not maybe a huge amount, but that's pretty good. Let's save it again and then load it again. And then let's go one last optimization on the range. Pin bar range. Let's go 20 to 45, and we'll go by fives. This will probably be the last one we do on this, and then we can move on to YM. We got a little bit of time yet. Yep. So there you go. So you want to look at, why would we go back and test this again? Because we want to have something that is really, really good over the short run, especially. Like it's great if it's good for 2, 3, 6, 12 months, but it's more important for it to be good right now. because right now is what we're going to make money on in theory. So what did this come in at? 45. Stayed the same. So there's our answer. Save. Now, here's the fun part. When you go and you go, okay, today's the 10th. What have you done for me lately? This is where you start to look at, obviously it's only 3 days. Oh yeah, let's go back to back test. Sorry. Obviously it's only 3 days. So if all 3 days are losers, does that mean that this optimization is no good? No. Just means you might need to keep an eye on it, maybe re-optimize a couple times. My suggestion would be this, for those of you that are like, how much do I optimize? How often do I optimize? Those are very important questions to answer. My suggestion would be this. So we're at about 40, so 2 wins and 3 losses. So, clearly it's the worst thing we've ever come up with. No, just means the markets didn't work well with it these 3 days. And so to me, I wouldn't be too worried about it. You start getting a couple weeks down the line, then you want to start looking at, okay, we need to re-optimize here. So here's my thoughts on this. Let's say you optimize once, looks great. You're so excited. You run it for a week in sim. Crying out loud, run it in sim. Then after the first week, it is not good, let's say, okay? Not good. And so what do? You look at optimizing again after that 1 week. Now you're going to optimize for, maybe 4 to 5 weeks, depending on the number of trades. And then you're done with that. And so you come back in, you're like, all right, I'm feeling great. We're going to run it for another week. And you're still in sim because you haven't proven that you can make money with it yet. Back tests only mean so much. That does not mean you're going to make money. That means you need to run it in sim and see if you made money. So then you run it for a week, and let's say it's kind of, it's so-so, right? And you go back and you optimize again. By this point, you're like, all right, I'm kind of getting familiar with the optimization, feeling pretty good. So you run it another week, still in sim. How long you been trading? 5 years. What's 3 weeks? Nothing. Okay, so you run it for another week in sim, and this time get some great results. And you go back and you re-optimize again. Here's what I would be looking for. A minimum of 3 weeks in sim. Take it or leave it. It's up to you what you want to do. I can't tell you what to do. I would run it for 3 weeks in sim. Once I get really great results where I'm really happy with for the week, and my optimization isn't like veering off course in one direction or another. In other words, my optimizations start to get to be kind of similar week after week after week. Then I know, okay, now I've got it. And just for good measure, I'd probably run it for 1 more week in sim. If I'm still good to go, now I have what? Experience. Now I have conviction and belief in the system. And I know what I'm doing, and I'm confident, and I'm feeling good, and I'm going to go make some money. That's the approach. That's what I would suggest. Take it or leave it. So if it does terrible this week, re-optimize. It's not a big deal. Do I know that these are going to be the best settings in the world for the next 6 months? No, I have no idea. So that's why we optimized. Cool. But we got a good starting point. So let's look at it over the long run, right? We were testing back to what, June. You can even go nuts. I don't even really want to get into that, but if you went like June 3rd to now, it's not terrible, Obviously, you would block out a couple dates, so on. So we can post this for everybody. If you want the RTY settings as they are, I'm happy to give them to you. I don't know if they're going to be great because I haven't run it for a week, beyond that or any of that kind of thing. So, but hopefully that gives you some insight as to what that approach should look like. Just because we have good settings doesn't mean they're going to stay that way. It doesn't mean that they don't need to be optimized, right? Let's go to YM and let's take a look. So let me move this over so I can see a little better. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to YM. We'll stick with the full size. Minutes and next net profit, optimize data. I'm going to go 1, 2, 5 by twos. And we'll just go with a month worth of testing again. Pin bar body, I'm going to keep it at 30, which has kind of been the sweet spot. And then we can optimize for that. Obviously, we're going to expand out our times so we can get some trades in here. We'll go 3:30. Let's go to 2:30. Okay, and then leave that. The other thing I haven't done on RTY, which I would strongly suggest, is optimize for the target, the risk reward target, because we never really did go through that. 30, it's fine. Where's the stop? So definitely want to use percent on variable range bars, definitely. And we'll go 10 to 50 by 5. Run it. Cool. Okay, so let's expand this out a little bit. So 4,900 was the most profit and not a huge profit factor. Max drawdowns pretty big compared to some of these others. This one actually pretty low drawdown, even though it doesn't have a huge profit ratio. So this one was what time frame? We came in on a 5 minute. Let's see. This was 1, 5. Most of them are coming in at 5. So I'm going to just go ahead and stick with the 5 minute. And then let's actually do this. We're going to run, now that we have our chart, let's run this against the stop offset. And before I get too far, let's look at the times. 6:30 to 1:30. Let's look at this one too. Yeah. Cool. So let's lock it in a little bit. We're not going to get super fine-tuned yet, but let's go 6:30. And then let's go to 1:30. Shave off a little bit of time there. Yep. So show the log. You just right click. It's give it a second here, but you just right click and then hit show log. Any other algos? I don't know, Jeff. We got any other algos coming out? I'm sure there's another one not too far behind.
Yeah, working on a couple right now.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, there's always more. They keep coming up with new ideas. Of course, I have a few ideas. Why does only sim show up in the account box inside the strategy? If you're running back test, it won't really matter. If you're on the chart and it's showing sim only, then you want to make sure you're connected and that you have your other accounts available. All right, so this is pretty good. We've got 8,200, 1.73, 1320. This one's less profit by 1,200, better profit factor, lower drawdown. So they're both good. Both of these are good. What's the main difference? So we've got this one came in at 40. This one is 35 on the offset. And the bar ratio 35, 30, 30, 35. So clearly that's kind of the number. 30 to 35 is kind of the sweet spot. So if you really want to get fine-tuned, you can go like 20 to 40 by ones or twos, but I don't think it's really necessary. Offset 40, what was the other one? Offset 35, 40, 35. So let's try it at 35. All right, we should be almost good to go. Let me save it. Let's go to back test for a second. 35, 40. Cool. Well, all right. So now, same as before, I'm going to sort these if it'll let me. There it goes. Sort these by win rates. Most profitable, 9:30, 10 o'clock, 12:30, 9 trades, 9, 11. So I really want to look at like anything that's 50% or less, then we probably want to filter those. So 7 and 6:30, gone. 7 o'clock, not great. 7:30 is down here. So clearly we're getting rid of all of that and we're going to start at 9 o'clock. So that's a known fact. So 9 o'clock. End time, let's look at these. We've got 11 o'clock was 60%. It's okay. 12:30, we had a decent number of trades. Would have went probably 7 out of 9 based on those. And then 1 o'clock, not great. Really there's only 5 trades though too. So it's 3 out of 5, to me, it's like you probably got a better opportunity in here and then just cutting it off. That's my take on it. So I would just go to 10:30 and just leave it like that. Oh, yeah, that'll do it, Randy. Yeah, good call. So not a ton of trades now at this point. We're down to about 26. Really solid numbers, but of course that's 26 trades. 80% win rate. I mean, it looks amazing, but it's obviously not a huge sample size. I wouldn't stake anything on that, but we can save it. You could go through now that you have your times kind of locked in, you could go through and re-optimize. I don't think the numbers are really going to come in that differently, you know. So I think that's probably fine. We can do one thing that I'm curious about. Let's load. Well, here, we'll just run them manually. Let's go to a 15-minute. Probably not going to get very many trades though, because there's only an hour and a half. Yeah, 6 trades. 66% were winners, but yet it's still lost. Figure that out. Let's do this. Let's just for fun, let's go to a 60-minute and let's go around the clock. 3:30. Don't worry, I saved the other one. 3:30 to 2:30. Actually, I got an idea. Let's go 4:30, but we will block trades after 2:30. Yeah, let's go look at it. It's only 18 trades. It's a 1 hour chart. Oh, it's only a month. Let's go back further. Sorry. I wanted to see what this looks like on some of the higher time frames. I really didn't get a chance to mess with it much. So we'll run this through and then I think we'll probably call it, but at least you get kind of an idea on how to get started with the optimizations. And then you can take it and run with it and kind of fine tune it some more if you wanted to. Like I say, I would run it for a week forward, go back optimize, do that a couple times. And you'll notice you'll get the feel of things as you go through that process. So we've got an event coming up, end of the month. What we're going to be doing is we're going to look at portfolio level algo trading. In other words, trading multiple algos on multiple markets and multiple accounts and looking at the long run process of running multiple algos. Many of you have a lot of algos at this point because of that huge sale we just ran. So what do you do with them? How do you get them working together and that kind of thing? So we're gonna look at how to do that. So now we've got 80 trades, good number. Let's go check out the time of day. Based on entry time, the afternoon really just is not good. You've got 5 to 11. So really it's 5 to noon because it's hourly charts. So let's change that up and go 5 o'clock to noon o'clock. And we don't need this anymore. Sorry, we do. 12 o'clock, 16:30. That way it'll let the trade run toward the end of the day, but it won't take any new trades. So that's why I did that, in case you're wondering what the heck I'm doing. Anybody have any questions before we wrap up for the day? This one, you could probably look at filtering the open a little bit. I'm gonna assume that's probably what's going on. Not too bad as a starting point, actually. That's pretty decent. Let's go look at some of the trades. Got in here. Oh yeah, you got way more room for profit. Look at that. Holy smokes. Probably should have went in and looked at the charts on these other tests, but let me do this. Let's turn off the moving averages. This is kind of my curiosity going down the rabbit hole here. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. Yeah, I think there is more profit to be had on these. Let's check it out. So we're going to save this as higher time frame. We'll just go 60-minute. And let's look at let me do this. Let's go here. Not that one. Let's optimize for target. I'm not going to go any smaller than 1-to-1 on a high time frame like that. So we're going to go, we can go up to 5-to-1. Let's go by 0.25s. Let's see what that comes back at. The other thing I would do is if you're running higher time frames like this and you've got bigger R multiples, I would set your break even point once you get to 1-to-1. It's hard to do though, because you can only use ticks. So you kind of have to average it out to figure out what your average 1-to-1 is. Yeah, pretty similar all along these. I mean, some of these are exactly the same. This one is barely edged out. This came in, risk reward came in at 2-to-1. This was 1.5, 3.25. Interesting. So let's go 2-to-1. Let's look at the auto break even. Stop. Oh, I have to disable this for a second. There it goes. Okay. Break even trigger. Minimum. Let's go 30 ticks. 50. We can look at actually how many ticks these trades are. How many contracts do I have? 2. Seems like most of them are less than 100. So we'll go up to up to 50 because that would be the 1-to-1 mark. Oh yeah, 30 to 50. And let's go by fives. And then I'm going to disable that, even though there we go. So it should still do the break even, I hope. And then after that, I think we're going to be done. I'm losing steam. So 85.70. I have it by net profit. Oh yeah, that's why. You mean like the templates? Should they match? They should. Yeah, they definitely should. How do we get the templates? Check Discord. We'll probably post them up to Discord. Okay. Where did we leave off? So we've got auto break even, trail trigger, 40 ticks on that one. This one was break even at 30, 45. So yeah, so 40 break even is probably the way to go. So now I'm just going to, I can't test it on or off, so let's save it. Um, let's go to back test. Okay. Let's go here just to make sure it's there. And there it is. Let's do that. We don't need that. You can do break even +1 too if you really want to, it would probably be 2 to cover commission on YM, but actually 1 if you're full size. So we'll just leave it. Enable algo stop. Let's run it. All right, so 84.60. Now let's turn it off and see if it's any better. Break even 0. Cool. All right, so 159, 84.60. Let's run it without. I think that answers our question. Cool deal. All right, so we got a little 60-minute, something to start with. Let's go to the analysis again. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, what is 1 o'clock doing for us? 12, hitting 2/3 of those trades. 12, 4 p.m., 3 p.m. Nothing really good happening on those. I think it's just because it's such a big chart, and at the end of the day, you're just not going to get very much. I think 2, 3, 4, you chop those out. Yeah. So why? So here's the question. If this is disabled from noon to 4:30, why is it trading? That is entry time. Huh. Jeff, any ideas on that?
Okay, say that again, please.
Sorry, I can't hear you. What's that?
Sorry, say that
There
again,
you go.
please.
Yeah, so I've got it set to end at 4:30, but I've got it blocked from noon to 4:30. But it doesn't look like it's blocking those from taking trades in here. I just noticed that. It's interesting, huh?
Uh,
Because the reason I did that is I wanted to exit trades at 4:30, but I want it to be able to take trades until noon, only until noon.
do you have it set where it's exiting at end time or something like that, or
Yeah.
not?
Yeah, I do. It's set to end at 4:30.
Yeah, I was answering some questions, so I wasn't following along where what your other
Yeah.
settings were.
Yeah, let me
You
try and
could,
run it like this and
okay.
see what that does for us. But I don't want to exit at any time. Or maybe I do. We'll find out.
Well, the end time is 12 noon.
I know. I had it at 4:30 though, and it wasn't. Yeah, see, these are better numbers. Um,
I mean, yeah, I
let's
don't know.
turn
Send
that
me
off.
send me the template. I need to see more of it, I guess.
Yeah,
Not take everybody's time, but
let's do that. Yeah, not as good. Let's do exit on session close. $8,500 versus, yeah, I mean, exiting by noon is really the answer here, it looks like. So there we go. Save that. 60-minute. 82 trades. That's a good sample size, and this is where the difference is. People ask us, well, why not test for 6 months? Well, yeah, absolutely. If you're trading on a 30-minute or an hour or something like that on a big time frame, absolutely. Go back further. Yeah, this looks good. Let's go cumulative daily. Pretty good. A little bit of a drawdown here for a while, actually. I mean, this is from February 13th until March 22nd, till it made a new high water mark. But it is a 1 hour chart, so it is going to take longer to get out of those drawdowns. But this is, pretty interesting from a swing trade kind of perspective. You can get some intraday trades, that kind of thing. Guess it wouldn't be swing, but intraday. Yeah, looks pretty good. Sweet. All right. Well, we got a lot done. So that's great. So hopefully you guys picked up some tips and ideas, and we'll get you the templates and you can run with them, see what you come up with. I'm losing steam, and I'm also losing People, I think people are finding their way out the door, which is totally understandable. But no, I appreciate you guys hanging out. If there's anything else we can do for you, let us know. Otherwise, I will get these over to you, and have a fantastic rest of the afternoon, and good luck. Keep us posted. Let us know how it goes. Cool. Awesome. You got it. Good, good. Cool deal. All right, guys. We'll have a fantastic rest of the day, and we'll catch most of you back in the trade rooms tomorrow. We will see you there. Cheers, everybody. Take care.